Fascinating. Well, at any rate, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
You bet. So prior to us getting on here, we were kind of talking about jazz and we were talking about COVID. And I want to kind of delve into that a little bit more. 4 years ago, we were wrapping our heads around this pandemic, and it really did its job on all of us, and it changed things. How did you survive that time period, and how did it subsequently change the way that you do things now?
Great question. Well, I was in New York City, so I think I was one of the first cities hit with it,
Yeah.
and in the States, and one of the hardest. And I remember just basically going home from work thinking, oh, this will be over in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And especially in New York, it went on for a very long time. And I have an apartment that is 360 square feet, and I basically hunkered down with my boyfriend, and we just wrote it out. And there were a few times where we bought these chairs that were, like folding chairs, and we would go into the meatpacking district, which is like a really well-known area in New York City. It was empty. It'd be 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Everything was shut down, and we would be the only two people like sitting outside on the sidewalk having dinner. So there was an eeriness to it, but it was also kind of cool to be in such an empty space in that is normally so crowded.
Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of how I survived. I think how it's changed things, I think we all were sort of forced to work remote, which for me, there was no hiccups in that. And I think we all sort of were forced to move into what the future was going to bring us anyway, but it happened sooner. I think sooner than a lot of people were ready, which was, hey, we can go remote. Why are we sitting in an office 12 hours a day? And I really love that concept. And something else that was really interesting, because as you'll find out, I work a lot with the sensory of smell. And I think we take the sense of smell for granted. And I think
Yeah.
it was during the pandemic and COVID, a lot of the people that lost their sense of smell were like, wow, who knew how much I depend on my life being better by being able to smell. And so
Yeah.
there's definitely some good things that came out of it, I think,
Yeah.
and I think because of it, it's made us all really recognize how we really want to live our life more intentionally.
Yeah.
And I hope that continues.
My day job is as an IT technician for a school district, so I've been in technology for a long time. And I remember at one point they wanted to put a way that you could smell certain things on paper. So if you printed off a grape, you could smell it, or a strawberry, or something like that. And it really didn't go anywhere. But I kept thinking, how are they going to hammer that down? How are they going to be able to get the olfactory to communicate with something tactile? And I think that's a part of the smell thing. I think there's all of these other things these senses that we have that are tactile, but smell is not one of them. It's just kind of like the wind or a jet stream. You can't really see it, so you can't wrap your arms around it. That's just my theory.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I think that that's a lot of people's theory until they can't do it anymore.
Right.
It's kind of like, do we think our elbow every day for working? No, but we think about it when it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
But what's
absolutely.
but what's interesting about the nose and smell, it's like our nose is like it's smack in the middle of our face. It's like it's something we see every day. We
Hmm.
like it, we don't like it. Everybody has it.
Yep,
And it really plays a big part in our daily lives.
absolutely. So when I got COVID, I got it in November of 2020. My stepdaughter was ecstatic because I don't like spicy things. So when she figured out that I didn't have a sense of taste, she grabbed a bag of Takis and I started eating them, and I could finally actually do it because I couldn't really feel any of it. So that was a big moment. She always remembers that. So let's get to the heart and soul of your life as a coach and helping people with their health and wellness. If I put you in front of a bunch of third grade students, it's career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Oh, I gotta simplify, right? I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Should I talk as though I'm talking to the third grader? I would say I help people change their mindset, and I use smell and scent to, let's see, I help people change their mindset, and I use scent to improve their mood.
Perfect. So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
Ooh, third grade. I'm not sure. I think I was interested in many things, but I
Mhm.
do remember one thing that is connected to what I do now, which was I had a Barbie perfume maker set. that sat in my bathroom, and you could take all these different smells and sticks and create your own perfume with
Yeah.
water. And I remember really enjoying that, but I never thought, oh, I'm going to be a formulator later or work with
Yeah.
essential oils or blends. So yeah, and I also did just enjoy listening to people and observing people. But when I think about third grade, I don't think I had a set thing that I wanted to be.
Okay. So tell me where you were born and raised and how this fascination was sent. How did this become your career? How did these seeds grow into who you are today?
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised the first 23 years of my life in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. And then I moved to New York City in 96, and I was always into wellness. I had been dancing for many years of my life, so wellness was sort of a part of that. And I was introduced to aromatherapy in the late 90s, and I really loved it. I was using really simple essential oils. And that led me on to have an aromatherapy career doing body work, hands on applications. And then that led me to do an aesthetic license and work in spas. And then that kind of moved me into the business side of things. And then coaching was always a part of that, a piece of that. But I don't think coaching, there was really a terminology for that at the time. And then I got really burnt out after about 15 years of being in that industry. And so I moved to a different sector, but I continued coaching and then I continued taking on private clients. And even though I was using essential oils in my personal life and had a high level of wellness in my personal life, I wasn't really doing it professionally anymore. And I was really starting to miss it. And so that's when I decided I really want to incorporate a piece of wellness into coaching. As great as coaching is, I really wanted to also help people on a cellular level. And so in a quick sentence, that's sort of how I got to where I am.
Yeah. So who's been an inspiration for you in your career? Who's been kind of a hero or an inspirational figure?
Well, I would say in the aromatherapy world, Michael Scholes, he's one of the original aromatherapists, formulators who came to the US in the 80s with aromatherapy and essential oils and formulations. In the coaching world, I would say Marsha Reynolds.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many. I think it depends what category.
Right. No, but I think that you answered it. And
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm thinking about how our olfactory works. And of all of our senses, it seems like sometimes I will smell a scent and it will take me back to being a kid. And I love vinyl. So when I go in and get vinyl, there's parts of me for whatever reason that will unearth these memories of being a kid because I didn't grow up really around a turntable. When my folks had a box, Halloween albums, Elvis, Johnny Mathis, nothing extravagant. So I don't really have deep memories as a kid, but it's weird how those smells will take me back to a garage sale 15 years ago or somewhere. I mean, I guess my question to you is, how strong is our sense of smell to unearth and to bring up our subconscious and conscious minds to kind of mingle and take us to a better place?
Well, they do mingle. We know that once you smell something, it goes into the olfactory bulb through the olfactory tract and it moves into the limbic system. And what
Yeah.
part of the mind, what part of the brain is the limbic system? Well, that's where your amygdala is, your hippocampus. So your feelings, your memories are all linked in that area. And so we know that smell is linked closely to memories because when you smell it's going right into the limbic system. And so
Okay.
we know that, yeah, as you smell something, all these molecules go up, they work their way into the limbic system of the brain, and that's why you have memories, whether they're good or bad, that can be connected to scent.
Yeah. That's interesting. So let me ask you this. Of all of the people that are in your industry, who do you admire the most? Who's doing work that you admire, that you look up to? Who would that be?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know if I think that there is a combination of coaching with essential oils, but I don't know if it's ICF accredited. What I see right now is you have ICF accredited coaching, which is what I am. Most of those coaches are executive coaches. I'm sure that there is wellness coaches
Yeah.
under that theme, but I really see right now still a kind of a division of, if you are into essential oils, you're purely an aromatherapist. You're talking about oils for a mosquito bite. You're talking about the science behind and the data. or you're coaching, purely coaching. So for me, I would have to say they're separate. In the aromatherapy world, I love Jane Schutz. I love Michael Scholes again. There's a few other ones. In the coaching world, I love, Marsha Reynolds, Lissa DeHart, Daniel Alexa. These are older and also up and coming, really great coaches in that field. And so fusing the two together, I've yet to see what I do being done, which is kind
Okay.
of why I'm doing it.
Yeah. So what is your motivation to continue to do this, to continue to be in this field, to evolve, to help patients, but also to evolve as a human being yourself? What is that collective motivation every day for you?
Well, I'm an avid learner. I've always been excited to learn something new. I've always been a person that wants to grow and change and evolve. So that I think is natural. And I think in the field of coaching and aromatherapy, it's endless. It's like playing music.
Yeah.
Do you ever stop learning? Do you
Right.
ever stop being great at an instrument?
Yeah.
So I think that that is the excitement there, which keeps me motivated. And I think as far as people serving other people, I think that right now, because we are living in such a world of instant gratification and we're always on our phones, we're always connected to the internet, which is great. I mean, these technology items are great. They're helping our life live better. They're making our lives easier. But I do notice that because of that, there is a constant stimulation in the brain. And we're not feeling maybe as good as we could be feeling because we're never giving our mind a break. We're
Yeah.
always now staying in our head versus being in our body. And so, what I see, what I want to do, and how I want to help is to say, let's get you back into your body. Let's take a break from being in your mind and let's get you into your body so you can connect to your heart. If you can connect to your heart, you can breathe deeper in your lungs and maybe you can make other decisions other than being just based on science and on your phone and in your head. I think marrying the two of those is really important. I think that there's right now a big imbalance in that area. And so then where does scent come in with that? Well, I think number one, we've got to feel better to make change, to make real change. And I think to make real mindset shifts, if we don't feel good, nothing seems possible.
Yeah.
And so we kind of know that smell allows us to feel better. It really actually affects our well-being. I think that the statistic is that 75% of our daily emotions are influenced by our smell.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? So
Yeah.
if I can give you something that smells good, that's non-synthetic, that you could wear or roll on or inhale all day throughout the day, you're going to be influenced by that scent by 75%, which means I'm pretty much by 75% can make you feel better, I think. And then
Wow.
if you feel better, wow, your bandwidth is going to open up. You're going to see possibility. You're going to see something different in your mind. You're going to be feeling in your body because you're more in your body because you're smelling something. You're going to be breathing deeper. And that's my motivation.
That's fascinating because I was going to ask you if there was anybody on the fence that's listening that has understood your work and what you're doing, and they're on the fence as far as whether they want to do it or not. You just answered it. That's a lion's share of our brain power, having 75% of it. I mean, that will really sway everything that you're doing. And I was reading something the other day, especially in this technological era that we live in, we're making thousands and thousands of decisions all the time. Do we text? Do we email? Do we do this? Do we call? Do we do this? It's like our brains constantly, the synapse network is just on fire. And then if you have, aromatherapy to help you get to better places, it's just going to be a domino effect that's going to be endless.
It really is. And it's funny you just said that because right before we got on the call, I happened to come across a statistic, which I'm not really a stat person. I feel like that's great, but I really want to be coming from the heart. But it said that the average person has over 50,000 thoughts a day. And 95% of them are the same ones from the previous day.
That's
Is that not
wild.
crazy?
That's
Yeah.
totally wild.
So it's basically there's only 2,500 new thoughts in your day
Mhm.
compared to in your day. That's it. And so what's great about smell and scent is we know that it's almost like it's an interceptor of your thoughts. If you're constantly in your head, you're thinking, right? The technology is keeping you thinking. We need something to break that pattern. And scent does that because it's really hard to smell at the same time you think.
Yeah.
And so if we can break that pattern for a minute, right? that changes everything for you.
Isn't that kind of the idea behind the adage of stop and smell the roses? It's obviously to slow down, but isn't there another level of that that includes the scent, the smell, and taking that in and changing your mood?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I think they've even done studies that say if you just do 5 minutes a day walking outside, you lower your cortisol levels by a
yeah,
certain percentage. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'll walk into the room sometimes in the house and a candle will be going and it's like, what? And it's like it just changes everything. It's that quick, you
it
know.
really is. Yeah.
So of all of the clients that you've helped, what's one of your favorite client success stories so far?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, there's so many.
Right.
There's so many. But I have one young lady who was having, she had some goals she couldn't meet. She was trying to get off screen time. She was always scrolling at night before she went to bed. She had been putting off signing her divorce papers or filing her divorce papers for like 7 or 8 years. I mean, there's just a series of things. And we started working together. And, when I work with people, we don't really talk about the problems. I want to talk about the person. I want to treat the person. I want to coach the person. And and sure enough, we worked together for 3 or 4 months. She had multiple roll-on botanicals. Within maybe 1 month, she's texting me going, I've stopped scrolling on my phone. Like my screen time's down, by 30%. And I signed my papers. I filed, and now
Yeah.
she's in a new relationship and it'd been over 10 years. And so I think seeing things like that where we aren't focused on their struggle, but we're focusing on them. And then all of a sudden, all these other things begin to line up for them because they're showing up differently for them, I believe.
Yeah. So if you could go back, let's say you have a dream tonight and you could go back to the point before you really got into coaching and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on what you've learned, the wisdom you've gained throughout all these years. What advice would you impart on that young version of you? And would that version of you listen?
Hmm. The young version of me probably would not
Okay.
listen. I think I would tell my younger version self to slow down. There is no hurry.
Hmm.
You're going to be fine.
Okay.
You're going to get there.
That's sage advice. So, of all of the things that you've accomplished and done and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm. Proudest of, I don't know. Just, I'm not sure. I guess I would be the proudest of just trying to grow and better myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you live in one of the biggest hotbeds of music, and we kind of talked about jazz in the world, and you obviously love music. What's the best show you've ever seen? One of the most transformative shows in a live
Ooh.
environment you've been to?
Okay. I would say the first one that came to my mind was the Bad Plus in 2004 or five, maybe
Wow.
that time. And it was at the
Yeah.
Village Vanguard, which is such a great, great venue.
Man, I remember that was around the time that I really picked up on them. And that was kind of at the height of their early powers. And the
Yeah, it really was
Vanguard.
with the original crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Work in progress.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So again, if anybody's on the fence out there and they're thinking about reaching out, they want aromatherapy, they need the coaching, they want to change their lives, what are you going to say to them in maybe the length of a couple tweets to say, do it. This is the moment to do it.
So if they're on the fence, what am I going to say to get them to do it?
Yeah, to reach out, to have a consultation.
Oh yeah. I mean, what do you have to lose?
Right.
If anything, you're going to feel better, you're going to get clarity, and you're going to have fun. We're going to have a time in the experience.
Okay, natural baton here. How do they reach out? How do they find out more? Where's the good place to go?
Yeah, great. All right. So I'm at monselete.com, which is my first name. It's spelled Monselete. I'm also on Instagram, so at Monselete. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So any one of those places, they can reach me. They can reach out for an interactive guide on just mindfulness, and they can DM me, however they want to reach me. Any of those platforms is good.
Excellent. This has been fascinating. Thank you so much. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.